Hello, I'm Morris Dimba. Welcome to this tutorial of staircase tower in Tekla structures. Today I'm going to show you how to fix handrails to a staircase tower of this kind with the help of points or coordinates placed with your preferred dimensions of handrails, and these are placed manually. Of course, we are doing everything manually instead of using macro to do all this, but to create handrails and to create the stringers. So the part one I showed you how to do this manually, creating the stringers and placing the threads, and that's all. Today I'm going to show you how to place the handrails manually with the help of points. Already you can see that on the screen here, and I've placed these points in accordance to my dimensions, and this shouldn't be a very hectic thing to do. It is very simple if you can follow what I'm doing, and after watching the video you'll be able to do that by yourself. Now I'll follow these points. I'll follow the points in creating the handrails. Now I'll come to steel right there, then I'll come to beam. I'll click that drop down arrow right there, then I'll scroll to polybeam. Polybeam is very important here. I'll click on polybeam, then I'll snap on this point. I'll snap on that spot, then I'll rotate this to a position that I'll be able to see the next point that is perpendicular to the point at the bottom. It is this one. I'll snap on that, and this should not confuse you, because the moment you place these points, you've mastered the location of every point and where one starts and where one terminates at. I'll snap at this end, and prior to snapping at this end, I'll make sure that my next point will not clash. Now I'll turn this, I'll bring it close. Let me just bring it closer. I'll turn that. So I want to snap on these points. I'll snap on this point, then I'll press my middle button on the mouse and hold my left button. I'll press Control on the keyboard and hold my middle button on the mouse, then I'll snap on this spot right here. I'll continue doing the same thing. I'll turn around and go all the way to this end. I'll snap on that spot, then I'll turn it around once again and snap right here. I want it to terminate right here, and I'll click on that spot, and I'll press my middle button on my mouse to wind it right there. That is first part I've created. Now the size of this pipe is quite small. I will adjust this by double clicking on that. So once I've double clicked on that, these beam properties will come up, and I want to change. I want to resize or to pick another size a little bit bigger than this. Then I'll come to select and just adjacent to profile and attributes. I'll click on that. There we are. The moment you click on beam properties, the steel catalog dialog box will come up. From here you can pick the steel sizes of your preference, and as I told you, I want to use a bigger one for the handrail. Now I'll pick on 42.4 by 3 meters thick. I'll click on that, and I'll come here and apply and accept that. So when I come to beam properties, I'll click modify, then come to apply and accept by clicking OK. Now I'll zoom out just to check whether the pipe has positioned itself properly on at the center of the point. it has centered itself on the on that point. That is much better. Now we'll go to the next step. We'll go step by step, and I'll show you the steps to follow when you want to create the handrails manually with the help of points created by yourself by your own dimensions. We'll turn this round, turn that round like that, and we want to start another one here. We'll come to steel here and click on steel beam and go all the way to poly beam. Then I'll snap on this spot. It's still loading. I'll snap on this spot right here. I'll snap on that spot and I'll zoom out or in. Then I'll turn this by pressing the control button on my keyboard, and I'll target the next point that is within the profile of my handrail points. I'll click on that. Then I'll target the next point that has the shape of my handrail. I'll turn this, and the next one will be this. Zoom closer so that you make sure you're snapping on the right position. I'll turn this round by pressing control button and holding the middle button on my mouse. I'll turn this by holding both, then moving the cursor or moving the mouse. I'll snap on that spot, and I want to terminate my handrail right there. So if you want to terminate it there, you press your middle button on the mouse right there. Perfect. I'll right click and interrupt. Right clicking and going to interrupt means you are exiting that command. Now I'll bring this close to just to check whether the pipe has centered itself on the point. It's perfect, and that is exactly what I wanted to be done. Now I'll come at the bottom here and I'll do the same thing. I'll come here. I'm just setting out my handrails so that when I begin placing the stanchions on the posts, it's going to be a very hectic thing to do. Now I'll come back to steel and then go to steel beam, then I'll come to poly beam right here, and I'll snap on this spot. Then I'll turn this to a position that I'm able to see it clearly, see the points that I've placed, that I've taken the profile of my handrail. I'll snap right there, then turn this round, and I'll snap right here. Then I'll turn this round once again, make sure I'm snapping the right positions, and I'll snap right here. I'll snap right there, then I'll go all the way and snap right here. I'll turn this round, and snap right here and join this pipe, join it with this one right there. Then I want to terminate it right here. I'll press my middle button on the mouse, and there we are. I'll right click and click interrupt. One thing you should not forget is saving your work, because you never know what might happen to power, or maybe you've not charged your computer, or maybe you are using a desktop and the power is off, and you fear of starting afresh when the power comes back. So every step you make sure you save your work, so that you're not back to square one on what you were doing before. Now I've made this, and I want to come to this end. I'll turn this round by pressing the control button on my mouse, pressing the control button on my keyboard, and pressing the middle button on my mouse, holding both of them and moving my cursor. This will move this perfectly. I'll come back to this point. I want to create the other end of my handrail on the first flight of the staircase tower. I'll come back to steel, then come to poly beam here under steel, and click at the bottom end here and snap here. Then I'll run all the way to this end, and I'll make sure I'm snapping in the right spots. I'll snap right here, I'll snap right there, then I'll turn this round perfectly and I'll snap on this spot, then come all the way down here and terminate it here, and terminate it here. Then I'll press my middle button on the mouse and end it there. I'll right click and exit, so that handrails ends there. Now I'll do that on the next flight. I'll turn this once again, I'll turn this round once again and come back to steel beam here and click on poly beam, and I'll snap on that spot. Then I'll turn it once again and I'll make sure I'm snapping in the right position. I'll snap right here. I'm following the points that I've placed, and placing the points shouldn't be a very big deal if you understand what handrails is and what a staircase tower is, so that should not be a very big issue. You just create the points along the stringer. The key is the height and center to center distance of the stanchions or post of the handrail. I'll turn this round and I'll want to make sure that I'm snapping in the right spots. I'll snap right here and snap right here. Then I'll press Control on my keyboard and turn this round, and I'll target the bottom point here, this point here. I'll target that point there, and I'll click on it and press my middle button on my mouse and check whether it has positioned itself properly. I'll turn that round like that. I'll turn this round, and you can see that has been placed. Now the hand railings are moving quite okay. Now the next, I want to clear off with the last flight, so that I start placing my stanchions or the posts. I'll turn this once again, and I'll go back and start following the same process. Now I'll come back to steel under steel beam here and click on that drop down under that drop down arrow. Then scroll to poly beam, then I'll snap right here. Having clicked on that, I want to target the next position or the next point that is in line with the bottom point. So this one have to be very accurate. Don't snap on the wrong point. You'll end up with a very, very funny handrail. So as long as you know what you're doing, this should not be really a confusing journey. Now I'm placing handrail for this flight. Now my next point should be here. This is my next point. I'm snapping right there. Then I'll go all the way to this end. I'll turn this round to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I'll snap right here. I just turn it round. I'll snap right here. And one thing I haven't done, there's a point here that I've not given a height similar to this. Now what I'll do, I'll right click and interrupt that, so that I adjust the height of this, or copy this height. I'll click on this height, click on that spot, I'll right click and come to copy, then I'll pick it from this spot, then place it here. That is the point I was targeting. Now what I'm going to do, I'll come back to steel, then I'll come to steel beam right here and click on poly beam. Then I'll zoom in and follow the same process, having rectified the point that was not placed. Then I'll snap right here. I'll snap on this end. I'll come all the way to this point. I'll come back to this point here. Come to this point and I'll make sure everything is in line. I'll snap on this point right here. I'll zoom closer and snap here, then go all the way to this end, go all the way to this point. I'll snap right there, then come all the way to the bottom end here and snap right there. I'll press my middle button on the mouse, then it will be terminated on that spot. So this is what has been created. So what we'll do, we'll not do everything up to the the highest, to the last height. What we'll do, we'll now place the posts for our handrails, and what I'll pick, I'll copy only this section. I'll select only this section and populate it to the full height of our staircase tower. Now let's do other things prior to getting to that stage. Let us not forget saving our work. Let's save it. Now I'll come back here and I'll start placing my posts. I'll come to beam. I'll click on beam right there. Now we'll not use poly beam, we'll just use a beam. Then we snap on we'll snap on these spots right there. Then you come here and snap right there and snap right here. Snap on that spot. We're doing this manually. The main topic of this tutorial is how to create a staircase tower manually. Now we are creating the staircase or the handrails manually. We'll come here and we'll create a post here. We'll turn that round, and there's no point linking us to the top end here. There's no point linking us to the top end, and that should not be a very big deal. What we'll do, we'll just continue with this and snap right there, click there and snap right here. We'll go all the way, we'll click here and snap right here, and we'll snap right here and snap another point here. Perfect. Then we'll turn this around and snap on this spot right here and target that end. Then we'll turn this once again. We turn this once again, turn it round like that. Then we'll snap at the bottom end here and we terminate this point on that spot. Then we'll go down, we come down here and snap on this spot and we target this location right here. We'll make sure we're snapping in the right point. Then turn that round, then we'll snap on that spot. Again, we'll just follow the same step in going to the into the next flight. We'll place this for landing. We'll snap on that spot, then snap here. We'll press Control and turn this round and snap on that spot. Turn that round and make sure you snap on the right position here. We'll snap right here. Zoom closer. You snap on that spot and target this end. snap on that spot. Make sure you are snapping or terminating your beam on the right position. Then we'll come at the bottom end here and you can click on that, then target the top end here, right there. We'll do the same thing here. We'll come here, let me just turn this round so that I can see the next point I'm heading to. Now I'll click on this. I want to add another post here. I'll click on that, then I'll pick it from this position and copy it here. Once I'm done that, I'll come back to beam here and click on beam and pick on that beam. Then I want to snap on this spot. Let me just bring it close. I'll snap right here. Then I'll take it up here and terminate it right here. I will not press my milled button. I only press my milled button if I'm using a poly beam, just to terminate it to a point of my choice. Then I'll come back again and place another point here. I want to terminate it here. Perfect. Now I want to connect this point and this point here. Perfect. There we are, and we're moving smoothly. I'll come back to beam here. I'll click on beam, then I'll snap on this spot and snap right here. I'll come here again and click on that spot and snap right here. Follow this keenly so that you don't get lost. This also we should include so that there is some sort of uniformity. Or what we'll do, we'll get rid of this post and get rid of this post also. Get rid of that post and we'll come back here and place this one here. Place that one and we'll terminate it right here. We'll click on this and terminate it right here. I'm moving slowly so that you can follow me keenly. I'll turn that round once again and come back to the bottom end of this point and I'll terminate it right here. Right click and exit. If we are done, in fact we are done with that. I'll turn this round. We are almost there. I'll turn round this and check if there's any part I've not placed a railing. I mean post. Now I'll come back to beam. I'll click on beam and I'll click on this spot and this spot right there. I'll click on this and you have to be keen prior to placing your point, prior to locating your points. I'll snap on that spot and snap right here. I'll right click and exit. Only if I'm done with placing my posts for my handrails. I'll come back to beam right there and click on beam and I'll snap on this spot and I'll target this end here. It is not confusing if you understand what you're doing, and if you are new to this channel, just follow it keenly and repeatedly, and you will be able to create such a thing effortlessly. Now I'll turn this and check whether everything is in order before I make a major step. Here we are. Now we are going to the bottom end here, and I will continue the same process of placing the posts. I'll press Control on my keyboard while holding or pressing the middle button on my mouse. I'll snap on that spot and terminate this one here. There, I'll do the same thing there. we'll allow it to load. There we are, and I'll click on that again and press Ctrl and turn this round. I'll make sure I'm terminating these in the right positions. I'll bring this close and terminate. I'll snap on that spot. I'll snap on that spot and come all the way and snap it right here. I'll make sure I'm snapping on the right positions. I'll snap right there. There's something wrong with this. I'll press Ctrl and turn this round. There is what I was talking about. You have to be keen on what you're doing, and click on that, click on the beam, then we'll snap on the bottom end here and target this one here. That is the post we are targeting. Then we'll snap on this end and snap on this one here. You can also connect that to that joint, elbow joint. I'll come back here and click on that. Then I'll snap here and here. Then here and here. I'll try to increase my speed. I'll place that one there. I'll place this one here. I'll place another one here. I'll place another one here from this end to this end. I'll place another one from this position to that position. Now I'll press Ctrl and turn this round and check if there's any part that we need to add. We'll come back here and we'll snap on this spot just to reinforce that end. And remember this, we want to copy this part. We'll click on that, click copy, and we'll pick it from the bottom end here. Pick it from the bottom end here, and we'll take it all the way to this part, all the way to this end. Just zoom out and we snap it right there. Right click and exit, so that we have this position here. We'll come to beam right there, and we'll snap on the bottom end here and target the far end there. We are almost there. Don't forget to save your work. Don't always forget to save your work. Now from here, we cannot still afford to get rid of the points because we'll be using them in creating the railings, other railings. Now I'll come back to polybeam. Then I'll snap on that spot once again. Then snap on this spot once more. Then go all the way and snap on this spot once again. Then go all the way to this end and snap right there. Let me just zoom and snap right there and target this far end here. We'll snap right there and press my middle button on the mouse and we'll wind it right there. I want just to show you what I'm trying to do. I'll come to the bottom end here. When I hover my cursor on this, you can see a beam I've just created is being highlighted. I'll click on it. Then after clicking on it, I'll right click and come to move spatial. I'll click linear. Then in linear, I'll change any XY axis to 0 except the Z axis. Now on the Z axis, I want that member to come down by 200 millimeter. 200 millimeter. I'll click on that. It will come down by 200 millimeter. Once you've done that, it will be uniform all the way to that end. Now I want to change this to a smaller pipe dia. I'll double click on that. Then on the beam properties, I'll click select to change the profile of this pipe. There we are, it has loaded, and we'll go straight and pick 26 by 3 millimeter thick. I'll click apply and accept. Then I'll come to modify and give it an OK, or apply and give it an OK right there. That is exactly the next step we are in. And I'll come here once again and click on it, and right click and come to special copy right here and click linear. Then under linear, I want to change this. I want to change these to 200, and I want 2 of those. I'll press negative just because we are moving in the opposite direction of the z-axis. I'll click copy. There we are. We've created some handrails here, and it has copied even this end. Here we are now. I'll turn it round, and we'll do the same thing on this end. Now I'll come back to beam and click on polybeam. Then I'll zoom closer and target this spot. I'll target that spot and go all the way to this end, and come all the way to this end, and I'll click on that spot and press my milled button just to terminate my polybeam polygon right there. Now if I move my cursor here, you cannot be able to see what we've just done. With the help of Control 2 to make everything transparent so that you can see everything inside everything, I'll press Control 2 and I'll be able to see this member here. If I hover my cursor and click on it, I'll right click and come to special move. I'll click linear, and I'll use the same dimensions and click move and click OK. Then I'll go back to my previous render. I'll press Control 4 to take me back where I was, but I will not still deselect what I've selected. I'll right click once again and come to special copy, then click linear, and I'll use the same dimensions and click copy. I'll click OK. The handrails have been created right there. You can see that already created. We are going to the next step. As I told you, this is a very simple task to do. It shouldn't be a very confusing thing. Don't judge it with its complexity of points. Don't allow yourself to be defeated with such simple things. Now I'll go back to beam. I'll come to polybeam right here. I'll come to beam right there. Then I'll go all the way to the last point by following the profile of this handrail. I'll snap on that spot and target the last one. Not really the last one, the next point. I'll turn this round, turn this round and snap right here. I'll snap on this spot. Then I'll go ahead and turn this once again, turn it round once again, turn it round once again, so that I'll be in position to see every part on all the parts. I'll press my milled button on the mouse to terminate my handrail right there. Now I'll go back to where I started all this, and with help of Control 2 I'll be able to see whatever it's happening inside. Now I'll click on that and right click and come to special move. I'll click linear, then I give it an offset, a move of 200 millimeter down or opposite the z-axis. I'll press Control 4 to take me back to my previous render right there. I'll press Control and hold my middle button on the mouse, and I'll be able to do this. I'll highlight it once again and right click and come to special copy here, and I'll do exactly the same thing. I'll click OK, I'll right click and give it and click interrupt just to exit that command. I think you can see what's happening here. You can see what's happening here. It's a very simple thing to do, only if you know what you're doing and if you're familiar with the staircase tower or anything to do with staircase. Now I'll come back here and click beam under steel and click on that. Then I'll do the I'll follow the same process. I'll follow my coordinates here. These coordinates are manually created because you're creating the staircase manually. Doing it manually means you're customizing to everything to your preference. I'll snap right here, and this could be the end of that. And once I've reached the end of that, I'll press my middle button on the mouse just to terminate everything right there. It's not terminating, which means there's something wrong which we need to rectify. We've not created anything here. So what I'll do, I'll follow it at the bottom end here and check whether I did not use a polygon. I used the beam. I'll come back to polygon here. I'll snap at the bottom end here, right there. Then I'll zoom out, then I'll target this point here, right here. Just follow this tutorial keenly so that you can master this. Snap on that spot. Remember, I'm using a polybeam, and I'll snap right here. Then I'll press my middle button on the mouse. There we are, I've created that. Then I'll come at the bottom end here. I'll press Ctrl so that I can have a transparent view of this. I'll press Ctrl and turn this round. Now I'll right click and come to special copy or special move right there. Then I'll click move. I'll move it down. I'll click OK. Then I'll go to my previous render. I'll press Ctrl 4. Then from here I'll right click once again and come to special copy. Then I'll use the same dimension, 200 center to center of the hand railing. That's all. Then I'll go to the other part of the stringer and follow the same process. It's very easy once you master or you understand what you're doing. I'll come to that spot and come to polybeam, and I'll snap on this spot. I'll zoom it out, and I'll snap on this spot right here, on that spot right there, and I'll come all the way and wind it here and press my middle button on the mouse to terminate it at that point. So because the other pipe is smaller in size, so it is inside this bigger pipe, so I'll not be able to see it unless I change everything to transparent by pressing Ctrl 2, so that I can be able to hover my cursor on top of this, and be able to select on it. So the moment I select on it, I can go back to my Ctrl 4. That will take you into my previous render. I'll right click and come to move spatial. I'll click linear, then I'll give it 200 move or an offset. Then I'll right click once again and come to special copy and click linear, then come to copy linear. That's it. We are done with that part. we are done with that part. Then I'll turn this round. Now at this point, we can now go step by step and check whether what we've done is right, or if we've done everything the right way. We can now get rid of our points by right clicking on empty screen, then right click and come to redraw. We'll get now all the coordinates are gone. Once you redraw, you click on empty screen, then click on empty screen like this, then right click, then come to redraw. We'll now get rid of all the points, all the coordinates. Now what we are going to do right now, we want to populate all these. We want first of all to assemble these so that they can move as one unit going up, or as a one assembly. Now I'll highlight everything here and select that. Then I'll press Control. Let me just turn this so that I can see everything I'm doing. And I can go individually and select on these parts. Select on these parts. And select on these so that everything is assembled together. I press Control and select the parts I want to unify or assemble together when I want to make one move of populating everything to the full height of our staircase. I think we've selected everything, and I think some parts have been omitted, which we can just go back and select them. It's not a very, very hard task to do. We can include that. I'll turn this round just to counter check on which part has been left. I'll assume none has been left. Now I'll right click and come to add to assembly, and I'll add it to any of these part. Then I'll click on empty screen right there. Now when I come and press Alt here and pick on any part here, all the parts will be selected. Now there will be one unit, there will be one assembly. Now I want to populate this upward. I want to populate this up, taking into account that let me just double click right here and change the view angle. I'll come to view properties, I'll change this to 180, then I'll change this to 0, then I'll come here and modify, I'll apply and accept. Now our selection has been deselected, and this is just simple thing to do. Just press Alt and click any part of the staircase. I'm putting these in a position that when I click copy, you'll be able to see how things are moving or how things are being done. I'll right click and come to spatial copy here. I'll click linear, and I want to use a Z axis. I want to populate these upward at an interval of 3 meters. How many do we want? We want 20 of these. Just type 20 and just go ahead and click copy. Just accept it. Go ahead and click expand. There we are. I'll click right there. I'll right click and go to exit. Now we don't need this part. We don't need this part. We'll delete that. We'll press Alt again and click on this. We don't need that part. We don't need this part. We'll just select on that and delete that one. Without pressing the Alt, we'll delete this. Then if you press Control, you can turn this round and see what has been done. We'll get rid of this. We are now at the top of our handrail. I'll click undo. We'll click this and turn this down like this. Now this will be the point that will be accessing the top of the silo, or the silo top. This is the end of our journey. So the moment you get to the landing, you'll be able to cross over to the top of the silo. This kind of staircase tower is ideal for staircase, silo top, which normally vary in height, some 36, some 100, some 86, some 90. They are normally supported against the silo. I'll show you an example. I'll show you a type of silo and how it is connected to a cement silo in the next presentation. Just keep on following this channel. You'll be able to see lots of this kind. So there's one part that we left that hasn't been copied. This part. And that should not be a very big issue. You can just do the same thing and populate it all the way to the top. All the way to the top. Perfect. This is our staircase now, with the handrails in place. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and let's meet on the next presentation. I hope this has helped you. Any question, just put in the comments. I'll be able to respond back to you. And thanks a lot once again, and let's meet on the next presentation. I'm Morris Dimba, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're new to this channel. Bye bye, and let's meet then.